the 49ers just made a smart move, and in doing so, revealed a little bit about the injury situation. I think is very interesting. I also got other things coming up later in the video, positive things about Brock Purdy, things that will make you feel good about the 49ers playoff chances. So stick around for all of that in this episode. Hit subscribe if you're looking for 49ers content. Appreciate all of you guys for doing that. It does really help me out with the YouTube algorithm and all that kind of nonsense. But let's talk about this kicker to start this one off. This is a quick one. Don't have to go real deep on this one. How do you guys feel about the movement from the 49ers bringing in Matt Gay? I think this was a guy that, he was piquing a lot of people's interest, with the Jake Moody situation early on. He was a guy that the 49ers or that 49ers fans were talking about. So it's kind of interesting now. He shows up and we're like, we got a better guy in Eddie Pinheiro, which is pretty great. But notice that it was a practice squad move. Like, let me know what you guys think in the comments about like how this makes you feel. If you're just like, whatever, who cares? He can kick the ball until Eddie comes back. That's fine. I mean, that's where I'm at, obviously. But, I think the interesting thing is it's the practice squad move, right? Why do they do that? It's pretty obvious. And they could do this and still elevate the guy to the 53-man roster. But you get those 3 practice squad elevations. And so it tells you that they're kind of doing what exactly the Chicago Bears did with Jake Moody. Like, we believe this is a short-term injury that will not last more than a couple practice squad elevations. Therefore, it makes sense just to put you on the practice squad. You get a couple elevations until you're gone, basically, right? I mean, that tells you how the team feels about you. They're clearly not at all worried about him going and playing for another team or some team trying to take him off the practice squad. So I think this is a good sign that Eddie Pinheiro's injury, as we learned Monday, grade 1, kind of not a big deal, kind of hamstring deal. I think this is further evidence that they're on the same, at least right now, the team feels the same way about that injury they did on Monday, which I think is good news. I'll take that for what it is. I think that's great, honestly. But you know what else is great? The 49ers playoff chances, which we're going to talk about after I tell you what David Lombardi's take is, because I asked for your comments. Here's David Lombardi's comment. New 49ers kicker Matt Gay saw his peak seasons, with the Rams in 2021 and 2022, making well over 90% of his kicks. Although his percentage has fallen off over the past 3 seasons, Gay still has an 89.4% of his kicks under 50 yards, a solid rate. Struggles have come from 50 plus. Yeah, he's like, not good, 50 plus right now. 49ers are looking for short-term reliability in a backup kicker. It's impossible to find a star on the street in November, so you sign the Band-Aid solution who still gives you a good percentage on the bread and butter kicks and move on. Yeah, I agree in general. I disagree slightly with how it's phrased, but I agree with this in general, that you've got a guy here who's just going to do a job for you that's going to make the kicks that he needs to make, that he's supposed to make. Here's the situation the 49ers need to be thinking about, right? If they're like, let's say 60 yards out, right? From the field goal position where they're out on the field, okay? Is that really where, like, do they want to be taking a risk there, or are they going for it on 4th down? They're going to go for it on 4th down, right? They're not going to hope that Matt Gay hits a 60-yarder, right? But with Eddie Pinheiro back there, they might feel like, hey, we'll give him a shot. We'll take that. We'll take our chances depending on the game situation. And I think that's kind of more so what's going on here is you just need a guy that when you're looking at like a 45-yarder, we saw Eddie Pinheiro hit, I think, a couple 47s or a 47 and a 48, right? If you're looking at a 47-yarder or 45-yarder or whatever, you're like, you know what? I like our chances with our kicker going out there and hitting this one, and we'll take our chances on that field goal try because it could be beneficial. It could be the higher percentage play, right? What you don't want is what happened when Jake Moody gets injured last year, if you remember, where you're trying to play every single drive. Like, I think it was against the Cardinals. I was at the game. If I'm not mistaken anyway, you don't want to get in that situation where you're like, yeah, let's just try and figure this out anyways. Like, forget about kicking the ball. Let's just try and make it work. That's not a good situation. So I'm with David Lombardi in general on that one. Let's talk about the playoff simulations. They came out today. Fantastic. It's always fun. Actually, I think it came out this weekend, but I didn't see them until today. The playoff simulations, they're pushing them real hard at The Athletic right now. It's something that I love looking at every year, especially this time of year, because there's still enough games that there's a lot of different scenarios that could still play out. If you look at the general simulation, the 49ers have have an 86% chance right now to make it to the playoffs. And that primary path, of course, as you can imagine, is through wild card. But whatever, we'll take it. An 86% chance to make the playoffs is pretty good for me. The 49ers with that win against the Arizona Cardinals just put themselves in a really, really good position. They lost to the Rams. They win to the Cardinals. This is their upcoming schedules. You got Panthers, Browns, then you have a bye week. Then you have the Titans. You better win that game. Then you have the Colts, Bears, and Seahawks. The single most important game on this list in terms of playoff implications is right now, as things currently stand, the Bears, right? But obviously, depending on how things shake out, you might need some wins if some things don't go the right way. So what you want to be doing is you want to be looking at the Panthers game, the Titans game, and saying those are kind of like you have to win. If you want to make the playoffs, you got to win those games, right? I'll show you in a second what some of these implications look like. The Browns looks like a game you should absolutely win every single day of the week. But you know how it feels to go play the Browns in Cleveland and why things just don't always work out your way. And now, of course, we could be doing it without Eddie Pinheiro, so we could be in a similar kicking situation we were 2 years ago when we played him. Like, I never want to write off the Browns when you go to travel there and there could be snow and you just never know, right? I don't want to take any risks in my brain. So I'm just like, okay, here are the implications for what this looks like, okay? Let's say you do what I asked you to do from the very beginning and you win the next three and somehow you get in a bad way and you lose to the Colts, the Bears, and the Seahawks to end the season. That would be horrible. But if you did win these next three games, you'd still have a 75% chance of making the playoffs. Okay? Now, obviously, that's not the situation I want. This Niners team does not look like a team that's going to go and lose 3 games in a row. But we also know that they've been struggling. This defensively, injury-wise, they're struggling. Offensively, injury-wise, for a great portion of the season, struggling. So, yeah, I mean, it's always possible you can lose some games. But the point is, they have a really good chance, even if they only win 3. What if they go like every other? Okay, we've seen them doing every other pretty much the whole season. So let's say that you win against the Panthers. This Monday Night Football under the lights at home, etc. I'd like to believe the 49ers, handle Monday Night Football or primetime football situations better than most teams. That's my personal opinion, right? So here you go. You play the Panthers. You beat them. Let's say you travel to Cleveland. You have one of those weird games, weather, whatever, who knows, okay? And then you win at home against the Tennessee Titans, okay? Or is that at home? That's at home, right? I think it's at home. Yeah, I think it should be at home. Anyway, you win against the Tennessee Titans. I can't remember. Whatever, who cares? The point is you beat the Tennessee Titans, right? And then you just kind of do this every other. So you lose to the Colts, win against the Bears, lose to the Seahawks. You still, even if you do that, you have a 94% chance of making the playoffs. So really that Bears game, is the game that everything kind of hinges on. I'll be talking to a couple of my buddies who are big Bears guys, and we'll be talking about it when we get closer to that time and like what this looks like and this team and all that good stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, I think the point that I'm trying to get across, these like crazy simulations where they run 100,000 versions in different ways and everything and play it all out. Like, this is a good situation for the 49ers. That's the point that I'm getting at. They're in a very, very good playoff situation with the remaining schedule in front of them. They absolutely have the opportunity to win, and they're gonna be able to do it because their offense is playing really, really well right now. We saw them have their best game of the season. Brock Purdy looked great. We have not heard anything negative about injury stuff, which is fantastic. So here is what Pat McAfee had to say about Brock Purdy today. And this is just stuff to make you feel. Quick pause in the video for a message from this video's sponsor, which I'm stinking proud to tell you is Chomps. A while back, my wife bought me some Chomps. I'd never had it before and absolutely loved them. I got hooked on them immediately. 0 grams of sugar, 10 grams of protein, 100 calories, grass-fed beef. They come in a variety of flavors. The turkey's really good, too. I met someone yesterday who absolutely swears by the jalapeno. So there's something out there for everybody. Go give it a try. They're perfect on-the-go snacks for me. It's my favorite thing to bring to work. Sometimes I just eat them with my lunch. Sometimes I have them as a snack, and I absolutely love them. And as I've told you before, it's crazy to me because I did not like beef sticks growing up, and these things made me believers. If you click the link in my description and use my promo code, my friends over at Chomps are happy to knock off 15% off your entire order. You can throw them in your gym bag. You can throw them in your car. You can throw them in your backpack like I do, or you can just leave them in your desk at work. They're fantastic. I strongly encourage you to give them a try. Good. Like, this just make you feel good. Feel good about that.
But he's special. And I think he makes all the right decisions too, D-Butt, which is another huge part of the Brock Purdy train we've been watching since he debuted and really took that place over.
Absolutely. In the first couple throws, I feel like AQ could have been a couple other guys maybe on the train, maybe in the middle, not in the back. But, yeah, Jennings going third and Jennings, third and 8. Great play, great ball, great route. But, yeah, Brock has full control of the offense. He does have arm. It kind of reminds me, or I guess – Julian saying probably reminds me of him. You don't see like the arm pop, you don't see it jump off, but you mentioned it. The win matters, the win and the where. So he's always on time, always on target. And
always on time, always on target. Agreed. Yeah, that's great. Great take there from Pat McAfee and company. But in addition to that, we've gotten more. CBS throws Brock Purdy in the top 10 again in terms of the power rankings, which I think is fascinating. Now, I'm not going to. You guys know how I feel about the top 10. Longtime subscribers, you heard me go on and on about the listicles, and we got to be careful with some of this stuff, right? It's a little bit crazy. We get a little crazy with some of this stuff, and I'm a big fan of quarterback tiers, not a big fan of top 5, top 10, top whatever. I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense. Like we're trying to fit a certain number of guys into a bucket. It just doesn't make sense. Now, you want to order your quarterbacks and say, this guy's better than that guy. Fine, we can have arguments on that one. Do I think Sam Darnold's better than Brock Purdy? Of course I don't. Of course I don't. And these are power rankings, so they're based on recency, and they're, Brock Purdy's been back for one game, so you'll give him a little time, and we'll see what happens. But the point is, he's getting some recognition. He gets recognition from Greg Cosell. Greg Cosell goes on the 95.7 The Game every Wednesday. I always listen. I listen to on my drive home tonight. I always work late on Wednesdays, so that's why the videos come out late on Wednesday nights. But I was listening to Greg Cosell, talking about Brock Purdy, and I was fortunate. Coach Yak happened to tweet out the script from it, or at least portions of it, and here's one of them saying, the thing about Purdy that is different from Mac Jones is that he has a very aggressive mindset as a thrower, more so than Mac Jones. He will turn it loose. At times, it can result in forced throws, but other times it results in outstanding window throws versus zone coverage, which is an absolute strength of his game. And I got to give a guy who I've been very critical of some serious credibility on this one. Joe Shasky. I don't like every take that, and of course, who likes every take? You guys don't like every take I have. I don't like every take Joe Shasky has had on Brock Purdy and on this football team. I think he's been a little over the top about guys like Nick Martin and stuff. Whatever. That's fine. Like, we just disagree. But he said something on Monday after the game that I thought, you know what? Like, more people need to be saying this. He was talking about Brock Purdy, and he was talking about a couple of those oh-no throws, right? You know which ones I'm talking about. A throw that is intended to be a layered throw over the middle that if it's not perfect, if the wide receiver's not perfect, and if the quarterback is not perfect, if the timing is not perfect, if the pace on the ball is not perfect, it's an uh-oh, right? And he just flat out said, like, you know what, guys? Like, we got to be careful with how intense we are and how far we psychoanalyze every single individual moment of every single game. The bottom line is quarterbacks are going to throw oh-no throws now and then. Quarterbacks are going to throw picks. I don't expect them to never throw a pick. And that's a good way to put it. Let's not expect these players to be perfect. And the bottom line is he didn't throw any interceptions. We'll take that as a positive. But he did throw some bad throws out there. And I'm not going to say, like, oh, he's just rusty. I think he's aggressive. And I think this is what Kyle Shanahan wants out of Brock Purdy. He wants him to be aggressive. And I would not be the least bit surprised if Mac Jones comes in and Kyle Shanahan behind closed doors says to Mac, I don't want you to play like that. I don't want you to play hero ball. I want you to play, smart football. Play, very specific style, very specific reserved style, right? I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case too. I'm getting way off track here. The bottom line is this: Brock Purdy is a special player, and he's getting a ton of recognition right now all around the league on it. There's a fantastic article. I'm not going to read the whole thing for you here because I'm already 13 minutes in, from Kyle Madsen, just talking about Brock Purdy. Plus, I'm saying plus this healthy offense. I feel like not enough people are saying that. You got to account for the fact that you got George Kittle back. You have your offensive line playing the best they've played all season in these last 2 games. Like, there's a lot that's going well for you in addition to Brock Purdy being back. George Kittle finally back. You know, he's had a couple games now in, and Christian McCaffrey's been hitting more of a stride. The run game, Brian Robinson Jr. hitting more of a stride. So, like, there's a lot working in the right direction, too. It's not just Brock Purdy. But, you know, Kyle Madsen wrote a great article just talking about the 2 areas where Brock Purdy can really raise the ceiling for the 49ers this season, which I think is important. And the first one they talked about was, let's see here. The Seahawks offense had a field day against them, but the reality is the Cardinals are an above average defense. They are 11th in EPA per dropback on the season. I believe that's EPA per dropback allowed, if I'm not mistaken there from Kyle Madsen. But Purdy completed 6 passes over 10 yards, including 2 over 20. On throws beyond 10 yards, Purdy was 6 for 8 for 99 yards and a pair of touchdowns. We also saw, albeit almost getting him into trouble, Brock's mobility aids his offensive line and creates opportunities down the field, which he goes on about explosives and benefits there. The second thing that he talked about, which one was this one? The second thing he talked about with Brock Purdy was here. One of the biggest differences in the outcome of both games against the Cardinals for the 49ers this season was the effectiveness in the red zone, another area that Brock Purdy elevates the game a little bit. In Week 3, the offense was 1 for 4. Even in a Week 5 win against the Los Angeles Rams, the 49ers were only 2 for 5. They only made it to the red zone twice against Tampa Bay the following week. They were much better recently against the Rams in the rematch, going 4 for 5, but you don't get a second crack at a team in the postseason. So all of that being said, these benefits that you get out of your quarterback, and I add, of course, the other additional aspects of the offense, playing right and getting healthy, all of that good stuff. So this is a good situation. Things are shaping up. It took longer for us to get to here than I had anticipated, if I'm honest with you guys. And I am being honest because I said it to you every single day. So it took us a lot longer to get here in terms of the healthy offense. But excluding Brandon Aiyuk, this team has really is starting to take shape at just the right time if they can stay healthy on the offensive side of the ball for sure. All right, we are looking at 5 days away from the Carolina Panthers. So much to break down between now and then. Hit subscribe if you're not already subscribed to the channel. Appreciate you guys for watching this whole long video, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday night.